There's definitely progress being made. It's something we want to do. It's not really responsible for me to commit to a time frame. I would say I would like us to do it before the next expansion.
Okay.
But it's in the hands of a lot of engineering problem solving, and just a lot of these changes are pulling on a thread in code and systems that have been built to work a certain way for 20 years, and realizing like, hey, this is trickier than we expected. It may be easier than we expected. We'll see. But definitely recognize there's some awkwardness, as some groups have had people faction change that want to keep raiding together, and not being able to share the same guild chat, the same guild repairs, guild bank, etc., guild achievements gets in the way. A lot of the other stuff you talked about, I think a lot of those are what I would consider bugs. There's a few that we're working on tracking down specifically with cross-faction whispers or invites. If you're in a group with somebody, if you've applied to the group finder group, if you're trying to reply to a message, like all of that should just work. Anytime it fails to work, that's a bug. Now, but the thing we want to make sure is that there's some opt-in connection. You're not just getting a whisper from a random cross-faction person that ganked you in the outdoor world or whatever. And then also similarly, I think faction change, that's just something we need to change.
Is this delayed? Not that I'm aware of, no.
It stomps
it's
your
live.
lockout is a vestige of how the system was built, when of course two people of opposite factions couldn't be in the same raid in the same lockout. We just nuked your old one to avoid that collision. We shouldn't be doing that now, but again, that's an example of an old system that needs to be updated.
Sweet. Okay. All right, so this is a big one, and this is again, I've heard your philosophy on this multiple times. The WoW has gone through a very long history of going back and forth between bring the player or the class.
Oh, the buffs.
So last expansion, playing perfectly optimally, there was about 7 spots in a 20-man raid that were basically required with something that you could not really replace with any other class. This expansion,
like a warlock.
So far, again, taking a few liberties, but even leaving a few out, there's a bit closer to 12.
Wow.
Speaking for a not world first or high level cutting edge team who will probably make it work regardless, but more for the 10 to 15 man AOTC level teams that might not have some very powerful buffs, or might have to swap classes.
They're
and,
gimped.
like play something they maybe don't like as much to make themselves more powerful. I understand a lot of people don't need to be fully optimal.
Volume up.
Basically, can you explain your philosophy around raid buffs and how it's differed from X
Volume should be good,
where some classes were not required and now might be?
Yeah. So okay. Let's see this. Let me make sure I have.
That was a long question. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No. Okay. So like, I guess. I mean, so some of it is stuff you've mentioned that I've talked about in the past, but I'm thinking in the origins of bring the player, not the class, were like the extreme other end of the spectrum back in late Burning Crusade, where it wasn't just raid buffs, it was a matrix of party buffs, and it was, as people saw in BC raiding,
raid buffs were too much.
You need a rogue in the group with the warrior to give battle shout, the warrior needs Wind Fury, or they're bad, and sometimes you'd have somebody who's a good player, plays a class that's theoretically good, but you don't have room for them in your specific raid party matrix, and so they can't contribute. That felt clearly not what we wanted, and we moved away from that steadily. But I think where we're moving back towards is class mattering, making sure that the best raid composition, if you want to be optimal, is one that has representation of all 12, soon to be all 13 classes.
What's the difference between optimal and not, though?
20-player Mythic raid format supports that. I think that's something that is friendly for pugs as well in a flex raid setting. Like if you're a pug leader, you're trying to recruit the optimal group, get a group together. If you don't have a warlock, you should be looking for a warlock. If you don't have a hunter, you should be looking for a hunter.
I'm going to talk about that after this.
Which is the meta range spec, this tier, let me just bring 5 of them and we're good to go. That helps provide
what the fuck?
social opportunities for the full range of players. Now, that said, we want to make sure that none of these buffs feels too impactful.
Like
to the
warlock.
point that it's like, you can't go without it. It's utterly mandatory at multiple levels.
It's not mandatory, it's just better.
The top tier level. In that case, we want to look at things like tuning. We want to look at things like alternate buff items that can provide a substitute, or just increasing availability. I think the two most classic
that's
ones
what
in
you
this
need to
are,
do.
Bloodlust, Battle Res. I think no group at almost any level is going to go without them. The percentage of classes that brings those buffs has decreased naturally over the years. That's something we're looking at changing.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
I think you'll probably see this in the next beta build, or next alpha build rather. Evokers will bring Bloodlust, so we'll have a 4th Lust class in the mix.
Wow.
We're also looking at adding Battle Res to one more class. Possibly Paladins, likely Paladins, but don't 100% quote me on that.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yep.
A new
and
responsibility
for the rest,
from
we want
McConnell.
to take a step back and look at the whole ecosystem now that we've explored the space of individual buffs on the class level. We don't want to close that door and say, no, we're not doing this. But it's absolutely possible that when you take all 38 specs in their totality, there's just too much of this now, and we're too close to the Burning Crusade space, at which point over the next month, we'll want to pull back on some of those.
That's smart.
But yeah.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I will have a follow-up question on that, because that was actually, first of all, that was an amazing answer. Thank you for that. But,
yeah, that was okay.
So when you talk about like a scenario where, okay, if you are trying to play optimally, you maybe will want to have one of every spec. I think there's a couple of polarizing versions of raid utility right now that I kind of want to hear your opinion on.
Gateway.
So currently, I think of the, how many classes are there now? Is it 13 with evokers?
Yep.
Okay, with 13 classes, I think 10 have ones where they have either an hour-long raid buff that is basically irreplaceable, or are in some way bringing them to raid. Like, for example, warlocks don't have them, but if you've been around, gateways, hellstones, summons, wipe recovery, all those things are extremely powerful.
Thank you, Max.
And you need one of those classes. How do you look at abilities like DK's Death Grip, where it's not a class you need to have in the raid every pull, but if there is a raid boss or a dungeon or something that requires grips, that is as important or more important than that. So how do you balance between classes that just have
Death
a
Grip
button
is
that puts them in
goated
the raid versus classes that have such strong situational utility where they're needed immensely for small things but not for every boss?
So you're asking us to nerf Death Grip, in other words.
Yeah.
No,
that's the opposite of what I'm saying.
No, I know.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a minute, hold up.
Honestly, carefully. Like, needed is the thing that shouldn't be something that we're building in encounters, certainly on non-mythic difficulties. Like, if having knockbacks, having Death Grip, having a certain tool makes your life a bit easier
what about Soul
in
Ranger?
normal and heroic, great. And again, like, Pug leaders especially, Pug leaders are encouraged to, it's flex raid for a reason. Look for a Death Knight. There's a ton out there who are actively looking for groups. Get one in, it'll help you. Philosophically, like, we talk about normal versus heroic. I think part of the difference there, like a normal group, normal mode is pugs, but also just really casual friends and family groups that are just there to play with each other. They're not looking to bring strangers into their group. They're not necessarily looking to like recruit to get a certain class or re-roll. We want to make sure that at that difficulty, you can succeed regardless. You can succeed with a very suboptimal comp as long as you have the basics covered. At heroic level, like to some extent, the difference there, even if you're not like cutting edge mythic, you still, there's some challenge, there's some coordination, you care about success. You're not going to bring along a person who's doing 50% less damage than everybody else.
You hear that,
you're
McConnell?
failing to meet a DPS check.
You can't come next
space, time. Bringing in classes that can help you is
Nico.
Useful. If it's ever literally impossible, then we're going to probably make mechanical changes to the encounter. We're going to give you more time. We're going to, make a cast interruptible. We'll do something there, so it's like it's not just ridiculously punishing if you don't have that specific class. Honestly, though, like things like Death Grip, we would like more of those because it's so cool. Because it's more than just 5% damage or whatever passive buff. It lets you shape your strategy, and I think lets the player who is the Death Knight, even though they may resent having to run out and do some utility at the expense of their parse here or there, it lets them feel like they have a special role that's contributing to their group's success.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Also,
it's
just
one
just
class,
like,
it's too much.
These DKs are wild, but yeah,
one class
I was
is too
more
much.
kind of along the lines of like implying like, I think it's hunters, DKs, and shamans, I believe, that are the only class in the game basically that has situational fight utility instead of just they have something that makes them in all the time. So I was kind of just saying like maybe if you did actually want where like, okay, you will always have at least one of these, so you have 7 spots now to fill with just what you want. If you're being optimal,
play-based questions.
obviously
No,
you don't
it's
have to
not.
be.
I'll
If you're being
explain it
optimal,
afterwards.
and then you have that.
These
But
are good
currently
questions.
I think it's only, you're kind of trending in this direction, so maybe we haven't seen the full vision of it, but like there is still, I think, like 2 or 3 classes that don't have something that puts them in the raid all the time.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, we are looking at representation.
Hunters are overpowered.
They
don't need anything.
Are. We want to have something we feel is a good idea, something that's elegant.
They're always overpowered.
It's easy to say, okay, this class has nothing. They get some new passive 3% stat buff. Now everyone has to bring them. But that feels like a cop-out. So it's like,
don't do that.
If there's a representation problem that we need to solve and we're coming up with a good idea, we want to move in that general direction, but not at the expense of elegant design.
Excellent. And actually, this actually isn't even a question. I just wanted to bring something up on the on the note of like bringing classes to raids and make sure it's accessible. Along something that's often forgot about when talking about the DK thing we talked about at the beginning of this interview, where it was the video you were watching was not about DKs. It was about melee representation in raids. And I want to say since that video, you guys have actually done a very good job at that. This expansion so far, Sanctum and Sepulcher, as opposed to like the normal comp, you've been able to stack basically as much melee in both of those raids on every boss as much as possible, and that has not happened before previously in WoW. So whatever adjustments you guys made there, it didn't actually trivialize melee, which was my fear for it, and it did make them more accessible. So just thank you for that.
Cool. Thank you. And yeah, kudos to the encounter team. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
it's something we talked about as an active goal. Like, how can we get ideal raid representation and melee versus range balance better representing?
I think just make melee do more damage
and do that
than
without,
ranged.
like you said,
I think that's
just
what they
making
should
the
do.
fights patchwork for melee. Because that was the traditional
Yeah.
way back in the day of like, all right, these mechanics just don't target melee. Cool, they can just stand there and punch the boss for 5 minutes, but
Yeah, just make
that's
them
not a
do
good
more
experience for
damage.
them either.
Yeah, and then just
Simple
one more
to me.
last thing before we move on to Mythic Plus. So you did mention something about, if you need to, you would potentially add them back. But just to specifically ask so if you feel like it's hard enough to get certain things in the game, you guys are not opposed to potentially bringing back the scrolls that existed in BFA, or
Yeah,
potentially
those
maybe
were
not buffing
nice.
Lust Drums back to what they are, because you just added another class that brings it, right?
But I mean, I think we're open to it. I think part of the challenge there is also when you think about where the scrolls are used, they're not just a raid consumable. They become, a mandatory consumable for every dungeon situation. Where
Exactly.
by definition, you're not going to have fast representation because.
Yeah, it's like you have to have it.
And then it also starts to turn into like, well, wait. So the thing that I bring as a warrior, as a druid, whatever, is like a 2% better version of this buff, where people don't have to spend gold on a consumable. Like that just makes their contribution feel less cool. So ideally, we would want to find
They need to do what they
a
did in
middle
Wrath.
ground, whether maybe that's reducing the baseline
Overlaps.
power or otherwise tuning, so that it just still feels like cool. We have this class. This is a benefit that we have, and the difference between having it and not isn't, something that you can't overcome otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, and just one more note that it just popped up to me. This expansion in Shadowlands, as opposed to before, you actually you have consumables you use at like the beginning of a dungeon or beginning of a raid fight that is actually in a much higher number than you did previously. So you have like the armor kits, you have the sharpening stones, the oils, that kind of stuff.
Forgot
Do
all
you guys
about
see
the armor
that
kits.
continuing into Dragonflight?
That's a good question. I think we
I
probably
don't
got
know.
a bit too far there. And I think as we're nailing down, just finalizing professions for Dragonflight,
Yeah.
want to take a step back and see what the sum total of that experience is. I think a
Uh-huh.
lot of those examples that you gave were things that we did to make blacksmiths and leatherworkers, frankly, feel more relevant, feel like they had something that, other than the legendary crafting templates, they could sell that was part of the economy. Dragonflight is solving that problem on 5 other levels.
Yeah, so maybe get rid
a
of
world
it.
where you need to apply 5 or 6 things, it makes each one of them less meaningful, and also just the general economic burden of like doing runs, doing the content, probably gets to be higher than we want it to be.
It's the endeavor of it.
Okay. So that's all
You
it
got
for
something
Raid. I just
else.
have a few more questions about Mythic Plus.
Okay, here we go.
So the Mythic Plus system in Dragonflight, kind of getting a sneak peek of it in Season 4. So I think it'll actually, probably be a lot better now that you've had a run at retuning some old raids, which has been really nice. The only thing that I could kind of think of as a potential downside is that what happens if, in Season 1, you run into one of your new Dragonflight dungeons that is just extremely good. It is like the key that people want to run, not because it's easy to time. It's just like this key is so very fun. You can think
Like
of a
Court
lot
of
of people have
Stars.
different opinions of these.
Yeah.
But like what that would be. It may sadden Mythic Plus players that they have an amazing dungeon and they don't get to play it for a long time. So basically, what I'm asking is, what's the balance of good versus new? And if anything, you might not be able to speak on this because it's kind of in the future. But
Freehold,
like, do you have
Big
any
D.
plans for Season 3 or 4 of Mythic Plus? As at that point, you've kind of shown what you'll do in Season 1 and 2, right? You'll have 4 Dragonflight and 4 returning, maybe to bring back some old favorites.
I love
Yes,
doing
I
old
think,
Karazhan. I think that's so cool.
We definitely have room to revisit, maybe tweak or update, or just revisit as they were if everyone loves them, a dungeon later on in the season. I think Season 2 is almost certainly going to be the other 4 Dragonflight dungeons,
That
plus
makes
4
sense.
other legacy ones. But beyond that, I think one thing the structure does is also gives more room for us to potentially add all new dungeons over the course of an expansion.
Yeah. That's what they've done.
Something we would like to get back
Since
to doing
Legion.
more of. I think back in Legion, when we last did this, one of the quick challenges that we ran into was integrating a brand new dungeon into a pool of dungeons that the community had already mastered. Like when Cathedral Mythic Plus rolled out,
Oh,
like
this is
that
such
was
a good point.
That was a super dead key for a long time.
Fuck
even
that
more so
as
with
well.
Secret of the Triumvirate.
Yeah.
Fuck that
And, like,
dungeon,
it
man.
wasn't actually like the challenges. It wasn't they were in some cases they were actually harder, but like beyond that, it wasn't that they were that much harder. It's that you were comparing a dungeon the community had 1 week of knowledge of to a dungeon they had been running,
We spent
you know,
4
for
hours
over a year.
in a +10.
But treating them equally in terms of rewards, in terms of what challenge they were supposed to offer. When we have all new pools, that's not an issue anymore. So I think as we look towards the later seasons, if there's new dungeons introduced, that actually naturally goes there.
Eternal Darkness.
We definitely can revisit any favorites from the first 8 while continuing to rotate through cool legacy dungeons.
Excellent. That is a perfect answer. And then also just a question about gear. So this gets brought up a lot, but I just kind of want to maybe phrase it in a little bit different way.
Okay.
So with Mythic Plus becoming more of an endgame avenue for people, is there a potential to add higher level loot acquisition for people who are doing top world level keys specifically?
It should
so, like,
cap at
obviously
20.
rating and PvP both get functionally higher eye level, but a lot of people exclusively Mythic Plus. Basically, is there a Mythic Plus key level that exists where it is kind of the same thing as killing maybe the last 2 bosses on Mythic, even though obviously you don't have to, you know, find 20 people to raid with, and then one is spammable for loot, and one of them is a weekly lockout, all of that included. Just have you guys had any more thoughts on that?
I mean,
Good
there is
question.
a key level that exists. It's definitely a different key level for Lower Karazhan than Workshop, but you know that's one of the challenges.
That makes
too.
it complicated, doesn't it?
The spammability of it definitely is a factor. That's something we've grappled with when it comes to Mythic Plus loot since its introduction back in Legion.
It's a good answer. I'm glad Ian knows.
Because of how varied dungeon pools are, because of just the social factors of if someone's running a dungeon on a Saturday, we don't want people feeling like, well, I'm already locked for the week, or I've already maxed out on my loot for the week, so I don't want to run it with you. That's led us to every dungeon run gives you some loot.
Yeah.
But of course, balancing that against weekly throttled systems like, you know, just raids and PvP means that if it's too rewarding, we just completely killed raiding. And I would argue that, you know, one of the problems
You're doing that already.
for not Mythic guilds so much, but normal and heroic guilds right now, is the tension between raid rewards and Mythic
Why
Plus
raid?
rewards.
There's no reason
if you're
to.
in a group progressing through heroic over the course of the season,
Why raid?
but half of your raid is running 15s outside of raid time, you don't really need that raid loot anymore. And
Maybe
that increasingly
because
causes division within the group, even between the people who are doing Mythic Plus and people who aren't. None of that is great.
the raids suck.
So anyway, all of that said, the direction I think we'd like to move in, though I don't have specific changes to announce, is on the one hand actually trying to, between tuning and rewards, bring that baseline down a little bit, or at least bring the baseline challenge up a little bit, so that there's more of more parity between raid, dungeon, PvP rewards in that space. But at the same time, find ways to let Mythic Plus players reach the top of the mountain. Like whether it's, you know, I don't know, whether there's some level that you clear in your Great Vaults that lets you get Mythic end boss quality loot or whatever else. We'd like to make them truly equal in that sense, but there's some problems to solve along the way.
Yeah, definitely. There's also, I think this season kind of showcased what can happen to the heroic raid difficulty by having Mythic Plus available for, like, you uncapped Valor, for example, right? So if you just went hard enough and you farmed
Why
literally
would you
plus
do
twos and enough
heroic?
Valor, like anyone can do them, you can get full 298 gear and you will not want any single drop out of heroic basically except for the last boss. So there's a level there balancing to where like Mythic,
I need to get new
baseline
gear.
Mythic Plus. Okay, I haven't thought about it like that before. Thank you.
But at the high end, like I think there's absolutely every bit as much skill that goes into
Who cares?
pushing really, really high keys. We should be rewarding that equally. We just have to find a
I
way
mean,
to do it.
who gives a fuck?
All right, well, that's actually we blazed through basically all the main stuff I wanted to talk about. I do have a few more questions about like class trees and dragon writing.
Yeah, like
So
Yeah,
with how
who
fun and
gives a
successful
fuck?
dragon writing, for the few of us who've been able to actually try it yet, hopefully soon a lot more people get it in their hands.
Talk
It
about
is
sword.
unbelievable. I think it like fully
Please,
transcends
sword.
flying. In
Your
fact, it's
tweet.
so good that I feel like it just flying normally just feels bad because of how good the system is.
Yeah,
Are there any
it
thoughts
does.
or plans in the future to allow dragon riding in the open world, potentially some race content in old zones, stuff like that?
yes.
I
Absolutely.
mean, that's certainly one of those things we started talking about pretty quickly once initial alpha impressions came in.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
I think we built the system focused
Good.
on Dragon Isles so that we really didn't have as many of the guardrails in designing it that we might have had if we were building it from day one as an evergreen game-wide system. A challenge here is also, not the specific mounts, the dragon ride we built to support dragon riding. We want to be very mindful of preserving players' investment
Don't you
and
say
just
it.
the usefulness of the hundreds of mounts that many people have collected. They've spent years farming up. If suddenly those mounts are consigned to the dust heap because they can't do all the cool dragon riding stuff, that feels like a problem.
That will never happen.
All that said, like, yeah, when we introduce
That
any
will
one
never
of these
happen,
features, our hope is that it's awesome enough
It will
that
never happen.
people don't want to say goodbye to it, but we want to carry it forward, for the rest of the game's future. And so far, this is looking to be landing in that space. So we're very happy about that. Recognize that when Dragonflight is behind us, when we're leaving the Dragon Isles, people are not going to feel great about going back to their old, just, floating at a static speed through the sky mounts.
He's making
and
me
so we want to
mad.
have a solution when we get there.
All right, cool.
Oh,
Let's see. I have two other ones. I'm trying to like kind of combine them maybe to come up with something that is a little better. So, so far the class trees have been excellent. The best ones give you things you haven't had before. They give you choice. Being able, maybe not even adding things you're getting, but necessarily just dropping things you don't maybe need for a specific encounter to give you a passive or another thing that will make you more powerful in what you're doing. This has been achieved through most of the specs in the game. But the feedback has been a little varied. So we've had, some specs get feedback every Friday for this entire patch so far with great changes. There's been other classes that didn't have posts for a month, but then just got this massive dump of information that was clearly being worked on the whole time with excellent changes, speaking about DK specifically. And then some other classes have had less updates. Basically, just asking, like, can there be a more standardized level of feedback between all the classes?
It's not gonna happen.
How has that been going?
well,
for you
he's
guys?
gonna say like, yeah, I wish,
Yeah,
but
druids and priests, we hear you. We're
we
we're gonna have
hear you.
information
Yeah, it's not
soon.
gonna happen. Okay.
Apologies for the silence. I know, you
Uh-huh.
deserve better and you rightly expect better.
Yep. I've said that to my girlfriend
ideally,
many
yes,
times.
we would have had,
Yep.
just more even-handed communication across
You deserve
the board.
better, but
The challenge
gonna
is
change.
it's I know billion-dollar company and all, but at the end of the day, it's also a number of humans who can all just fit in one room together.
$1 billion
who are
company,
handling
Yeah,
both
true.
the class design side of it and the community communication side of it. And life happens that results in, gaps along the way. Sometimes one developer is working on a couple of classes and has one done, but they need to get the other one done because understandably players of that class are impatient, but that means in turn that they're less focused on the first one for now and are going to get back to it. And so it's stuff like that. I know sometimes it can be helpful just to hear from us that
We hear you.
we don't have anything right now. We're working on it. We're going to have news for you.
He
in a
was
couple
gonna
of
say it,
weeks,
but he
as
didn't
opposed
want
just
to
radio silence.
because he knew it would
And
be
I
a
think
meme.
we all need to collectively work to get better at ever.
He was
having
gonna
a radio
fucking
silence
say it.
situation going on when people are just waiting for news.
Excellent. Okay, and I think I have time for one more question. So, first of all, that's excellent, and I just actually I don't even know if I need to end with a question. The question isn't even that good. I just want to point out that you guys have the right idea with class trees. The ones being done at their best, and you've seen over time the ones that were a bit more problematic have obviously been a deep amount of collaboration there, and they have seen the things that have worked in other trees and moved on to others. So far, I think the fact that some of them at their very best show an unbelievable form of content, I think all of us are just really happy to see it, and just hope that all the classes kind of end up turning around with the same, because I know it's gonna be a long road, right? Because you're just now, it seems, with posts, you're getting into the tuning section, right?
Yeah.
Where like now that you've added a bunch of new capstones, you're going to need to make sure that they all kind of make sense. They have, some of them weren't capstone nodes before. They need to really compete with each other.
Exactly.
So you guys ready to just talk about that process?
Yeah, tuning and iteration, right? I mean, and that's going to mean replacing some talents, redesigning some things that just aren't working. But we obviously needed to get the broad foundations out there. Looking forward to raid testing, Mythic Plus, Endgame, seeing people actually using these builds in different situations, and moving beyond theory crafting to playing with them. And that's the only thing that's ahead of us. And frankly, that's actually a little bit of a relief. Like at this point in Shadowlands, we still had 4 different systems to implement. It was like, cool, we got these things done. Now let's finish making conduits and Torghast powers. Here, okay, we have our first pass of the talent trees done. 100% of the team's time is going to be focused on listening, responding, iterating, and then tuning.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
I have one super quick question for you. Just wanted to seed this as a question for you for the community.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about simultaneous normal, heroic, mythic release as a thing in, let's say, hypothetical future tiers?
His face. He's like, oh no.
I think, for me personally,
Oh,
I think,
no.
Okay, so I haven't had any time to think about this, But something that I think is an issue is like one thing you guys have done some things to mitigate in the past.
I think it's fine
you've,
the way it
had
is.
to reduce what crazy things we would do during heroic.
Yeah,
when,
I
like,
think it's
Mythic
fine
first
how
comes
it
out.
is.
But the reality is that's because we have an entire week to do degenerate things. If Mythic is out, that really solves a lot of the decision making. You'd be doing a lot of things when Mythic is out, but I mean that is a massive source of information. I don't know. That's very overwhelming. I would need to figure that out.
Yeah,
but
no.
Chat
and to
is
be clear,
Pog-
I'm super not, and I'm not genuinely not announcing
No,
anything there.
yeah.
We're just trying to figure out, I mean, there's holidays coming up, there's stuff going on. We want to think through how our raid rollout is going to work for the start of Dragonflight, and community feedback always helps.
I think it'd be.
Did you just announce
I'm
it?
not positive, but I think it would be worth a shot, especially with like the potential.
If you
timing.
extrapolate that, yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just so much at once, but I'm almost positive that it's a good thing. But I would need to like actually sit down and actually think about it. So, yeah, thank you for that. That was very cool.
I actually
and
don't think
thank
it's a
you
big
so much
deal.
for the answers. That was deeply insightful. I love hearing you talk about WoW. I'm very passionate about it, and very clearly you are too. So thank you for that.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much, and look forward to doing it again.
All right, thanks, man. Bye bye.
Take care.
Yep.
Shout out to Max for the interview. Shout out to Ian. Everything like that.
All
I
right.
think that went pretty well.
There we go, chat. That went really well, I think.
I agree. Definitely.
Oh, you guys
agree.
got an ad?
Ha!
Oh.
Nice. Good one.
Lamau.
Gotcha, bitch.
Oh.
Yeah, listen. I talk
All right,
about it in
dude.
a minute.
That was nice. That was a good interview.
Yeah,
I'm glad
huge
that
shout
really
out
went well.
to Max. For
I
doing
was,
these
dude. I
interviews,
was
too.
going through.
I've done one of them. I want to talk a little bit about this myself, okay? So we got to have a little bit of conversation here about like the whole situation that Ian was talking about, right? So number one, let's go into I wrote down a few little bit of notes here because I kind of have I got to talk about this shit. So Ian, I think like a lot of his answers were like not awful. I mean, I really don't think that they were awful. However, just a second. However, I feel like they could have been better, and I want to talk a little bit about why I think they could be better, what could be better specifically, and what I'm worried about seeing in Dragonflight, and I think where the problems kind of lie in terms of class balance. So number one, it's about the idea of bring the class, not the player. So here's what they should do instead of this, right? So instead of bring the class, not the player, it should be bring the classes, not the player. Having one class that can do a death grip is shit. The reason why heroism is fine is because 5 classes, 3 or 4 or 5 classes have heroism. The reason why battle res is fine is because a bunch of classes have battle res. You should have overlap between the different buffs. For many of you guys, you might not remember this, but Horn of Winter, which was a Death Knight ability, and Battle Shout used to be the same buff. And if you brought a DK, you didn't need a warrior. If you brought a warrior, you didn't need a DK. The problem is not that certain classes have unique advantages. The problem is that one class has a unique advantage. And also, what's this here? Bad take, some classes need class-specific abilities? So, need. Why does it need? Why does it? So, okay, all right. So, let's talk about, whoa, they need this. Why? So your fantasy of what you believe this class is can be fulfilled in some sense of fucking ephemeral idea in your mind. Meanwhile, somebody's sitting there trying to do a raid, and they can't find a Death Knight. I don't give a shit about what your ideals are whenever 19 other people are sitting around waiting for the Death Knight to log on or waiting for the Warlock to come back from eating food. No shot. Get the fuck out of here. That's the worst idea ever. It's like, again, this is the fucking same shit that New World did. Oh, well, we want people to go out and explore the world. We want to give it a sense of grandeur. We want to get the fuck out of here, man. You're walking over to kill 3 wolves and then you're walking back. Nobody wants to walk back. It takes too long. It's like all the people whenever you have a conflict of the ideal versus the reality, in my opinion, the reality always wins. And that's what I think happens. And Death Knights are all over the goddamn place. Death Knights are extremely good. Like, Death Grip is a... Like, there is no other class that can do what Death Grip can do. And for example, on Soul Render in Sanctum of Domination, having Death Grip is a tremendous advantage. It is a massive fucking advantage. And you're right. Oh, you don't need this. Absolutely not, right? But a Death Grip in that fight makes the fight a lot easier. And it makes it easier on normal mode, it makes it easier on heroic, and it makes it a lot easier on mythic. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that's the case. But what I am saying is that it's a bad thing that only Death Knights can Death Grip. I think give it to 2 other classes. Give 2 other classes a flex talent that they can use. Like a warrior can use a chain to pull something in instead of being able to charge. And they can swap out of that if they want to, because it makes it easier to fill a raid, and you don't have to design raids without certain abilities because some classes can trivialize them. That's what I think they should be able to do. That's the smarter thing to do. Is that not class identity? Class identity. You know what my identity is whenever I'm in the raid? I am a rock. Because I'm not moving. Because I'm waiting for a Death Knight. I'm waiting for a Warlock. I don't want that. I don't give a fuck about this ideal. I give a fuck about playing the game. Playing and putting time into the game on a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour, day-to-day, lockout-to-lockout rotation. And the fact is that all of these ideals have been strangling the game. That's what they've been doing. They're sucking and fucking cucking the life out of the game because people want to adhere to some fantasy ideal that happened 20 years ago that can be iterated in many other regards. Like look at Legion, for example. Every class was at the peak of its class fantasy. And listen, there wasn't a million individual unique buffs. People were able to do a bunch of different stuff. It's horse shit. They gave more classes to take class identity abilities versus talent trees. They actually support 10-man rating correctly. Exactly. Weird take, to be honest. When you Death Grip, you don't just pull one person. You pull the entire chat to the hour ad break. Well, exactly, right? And that's what I'm saying, is that whenever you make 19 other people, 20 other people wait for that one person, that's a problem, man. And every class, every spell is easy. I think that there should be overlap, right? So, like, you have different things. So, like, let me give you some examples. Melee attack power, should be DKs, warriors, maybe rogues, right? Or hunters. Let's see, like caster damage. Caster damage, yeah, maybe monks too, sure. Caster damage, mage, moon boys, but maybe warlocks with a certain pet. I don't know, maybe not. Like, I don't know. But, like, it's just an idea, right? A hunter or something like that. Yeah, shaman totem. Shaman totem, there you go. And so, this is the way it should be designed. And the thing is that this is not the way it should be designed. They already did this. We did this back in Wrath. We did this shit back in Wrath, where they were like, man, these fucking, like, super rigid group comps were dog shit in Burning Crusade, and we don't like them, so we're gonna make it a little bit easier to do. And Wrath was better because of that. Yeah, it was like this up until WoD. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is how it was for, like, years, and it was fine. I don't know why they went back on this. It's such a bad idea. Giving bureaus to paladins make them more cuppy. This is a problem. I read it the first time. Stop typing it now, okay? Anyway, Ian talked about that. He said you'd literally just take 5 of the same meta class instead. If somebody wants to go in and bring 5 of a meta class instead, let them do it. Stop trying to sabotage the game because the top 5% of players want to spend 2 extra hours in LFG finding 5 Death Knights or 5 hunters or something like that. This is not a real problem. This is not a situation that an average player encounters. This is basically them saying that we are more concerned with the top 1 to 5% of players getting an advantage than the bottom 99 to 95% of players being inconvenienced constantly. It's stupid. You just think about how stupid that is. I'll start to everything party-wide, different classes bring the same buffs, it's all good. You want to know why? It's because the buffs that they bring are they are output buffs and not utility buffs. And the difference is that a utility buff like Gateway and Death Grip, for example, are things that are very, very hard to change. It is very hard to actually go and quantify the value of something like that. But with something like in Lost Ark, where like, oh, I do red dust, everybody does more damage. Okay, right? That makes sense. But the utility buffs are the ones that are very hard to quantify. And those are the ones where the real imbalances come into there, right? And now you have specs with no buffs. Yeah, there it is. And they make it as a talent tree. Top 1% will always be the 1% because they're smarter. Exactly. That's what it is. And WoW's gonna die because of these boomers. They just can't change. They're so it's WoW brain, man. It's WoW brain. They can't think outside of the confines that Blizzard has put them in. They're in this little cage. It's like, well, there's only one class that should ever be able to Death Grip because that's all there ever was, and that's just what it has to be. Because if there's shut the fuck up. Like, think outside the box. Many games don't have this. It's ridiculous. Talking about a game came out in 2008, asking for big changes? Yes, I'm talking about a game that came out in 2008. It came out in 2004, by the way. And I'm asking for big changes. I'm asking for it to change back to the game that came out in 2008. Actually. I'm just saying. Just, you know, like little, actually, funny you should mention that. Imagine 3 PvP classes have grip. Yeah, no, thank you. I would say that having that advantage is better than making PvE shit. And that's what it is. Don't think it's Boomer's fault. Back in the day, it doesn't matter if your raid took 3 hours. Nowadays, you get yelled at whenever it takes 3 minutes longer than last week. Everyone's so fucking min-maxing. Yeah, everybody complains about that. Then whenever you look at the way they play like trash. They're not complaining about min-maxing. They're just complaining about the fact that they can put in 0 effort and people don't want to play with them. No, not everybody is min-maxing. There's plenty of groups that just take things casually. But many people actually want to join a min-max group because it's more efficient, but they don't want to min-max. And no, I'm not going to give you any quarter on that. That's ridiculous. It's pathetic. Let's see here. 3 separate abilities for PvE content like PvP skills? No, I think that all abilities should be the exact same. I don't even like PvP talents. I think they're stupid. Every ability should play the same in most situations. As much as possible. Let's see. Change Death Grip for an actual buff that justifies our raid spot. Grip is useful and probably one boss during the whole expansion. Yes, but it's invaluable. In those situations, it is a tremendous advantage to have that. And I think that there should at least be 2 classes that provide each type of utility. It's just a smarter thing to do. It's a better way. It makes it to where there are less requirements. It's easier to make groups. And I think that there's no idea that, like, let's say you have like a mage portal instead of a gateway. Is that killing the class fantasy of a warlock? No, it's fucking not. That's ridiculous. I played a warlock for 15 years. It's not even doing anything remotely close to that. If a warrior could put down a banner and do a call to battle and summon people through a banner, does that kill the warlock's class fantasy? No, it has nothing to do with it. Class fantasy does not have to be rigid things that provide a fucking handicap to you whenever you don't have them. That's not the only way to have class fantasy. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you're looking for reason, BJ. Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's what I think that they should do. They should do with this, with the utility and the buffs and everything like that. And also, the reason why people don't raid. I want to move past this. I've made myself very clear, right? I think that different buffs should be in effectively categories. And there should be different groups of classes that can provide the same buff. Giving one buff to only one class, I think, is what's the problem. I think you should have different types of utilities that are available and accessible by multiple classes, and different buffs that are also available and accessible by multiple classes. I don't think the solution to that is adding in the consumable tomes and scrolls like they have in BFA, though. I think it's just giving more classes the buff so you can be more expected to have it in different groups. So that's in general what I think they should do, and I think that's what they've already done in many expansions before, and I felt like the game was better in those cases. Anyway, so we're talking about why raiding. People are talking about, well, Mythic Plus, like why would anybody raid if there's Mythic Plus giving you gear? The reason why people don't raid is because raiding is designed to waste your time. You waste your time getting to the dungeon, you waste your time doing the trash pulls, you waste your time doing everything. And if you look at every single Mythic Plus dungeon as like one 30-minute block, and then you compare a 4-hour raid, are you killing 8 bosses in that 4-hour raid? There are many guilds that don't. And the fact is that also a lot of raids are pass-fail. They are like a binary thing. Whereas a Mythic Plus, if you don't meet the timer, you still get loot. Whereas in a raid, if you don't kill a boss, you don't get shit. So that's another big difference. Also, like, again, whenever I talk about, like, raiding in WoW, if you make a pie graph of the time spent inside of the raid in World of Warcraft, I would assume that many pugs spend less than half of their time actually killing the bosses, which is, let's be honest, the reason why they're all there. So you have getting to the raid, summoning people into the raid, buffing the raid, clearing the trash, waiting to do the boss, everything like this. You spend so much time in a WoW raid not even doing the content. You're not even doing the content. You're not even doing the raid. You're just doing you're prepping to do the raid. You're running back from the wipe. You're, planning something out, right? This is what the problem is with raiding. And every other MMO that's on the market right now has solved this problem. Like, Final Fantasy solved this problem completely. Lost Ark solved this problem completely. World of Warcraft needs to solve this problem, at least mostly. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any trash. I'm saying it should be reduced by at least 80%. Runbacks, there should be summoning stones at the boss. Runbacks should not occur. You should just spawn right in front of the boss that you just were attempting. And that's all there is to it. Stop wasting people's time, and then maybe more people will raid. That's just all it is. That's the problem. People are getting their time wasted in the game, and so then they do Mythic Plus, because any reasonable person, we can go back to the min-maxing thing. Any person who's trying to min-max their time to any degree, and this is also like, this is the min-maxing that the dad with 3 wives, 9 kids, and 4 jobs does. He asks himself, I've got 40 minutes to play. I can either kill one boss that I have like a fucking 3% chance of getting the item that I want, or I can do a Mythic Plus that I get a guaranteed currency reward with Valor, and also I have a high chance of receiving an item from, because if I time it, 2 out of the 5 people in the group are gonna receive an item. That's the kind of min-maxing the craft beer 45-year-old dads do. And that's why they don't raid. It's because raiding is designed in a way that wastes your time. That's what it is. It's designed in a way that wastes your time. Do Mythic Plus, you pay for a boost at this point? Sometimes, yeah. So, that's why raiding is dying. It's not just because Mythic Plus drops more consistent loot. It's also because raiding has all kinds of other hurdles in it that are not fun to overcome. They are organizational and structural challenges that provide no reward structure upon overcoming. It does not feel good to overcome those challenges. I think that Mythic Plus gear should be bumped up. I think maybe plus 20s, maybe a month after the season comes out, a couple weeks after the season comes out, should be the new capstone for gear, and you should be able to get gear, I don't know, that's like somewhere around Mythic level. I think that's what would make sense. But agree with that. 1.5 hours the Lost Ark. You get the feeling of raiding only while attacking the boss, and nothing else kills the immersion a tiny bit. So, like, after raiding in World of Warcraft for 30,000 hours, I can tell you that having to clear the trash on the way up to the boss also kills the immersion a little bit, because I tab out and I say that my cat's on fire, and I have to go put him back in the microwave to cool him off. So, both of these kill the immersion, okay? Like, I don't want to hear about this, like, oh, this kills the immersion. Have you ever thought that the reason why the immersion is being killed for you is because you've played it for 1.7k hours? Have you ever thought about that? Maybe that's why, maybe the reason why you're not immersed is because you've done it 30 times? I mean, come on. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. In your opinion, I don't want raids to be a boss rush mode. They don't have to be a boss rush mode, but they have to be something closer to that, because, oh wow, Torghast is better whenever it's the boss rush. That's crazy. How is it that people say they don't want something, and then every time they get it, they like it? You see what I'm saying? Imagine that. Like, the thing is, to me, I'm not a person who is about talking about ideals and things like this. You can look at the data. This is what the data shows. Data doesn't lie. Data doesn't have a bias. Presenting it does. But data does not fundamentally have a bias. Look at what the data shows, and this is why I think it's showing it. That's what it comes down to. Can't wait why Trial of the Crusader was so hated then? Trial of the Crusader was hated because you had to do it 4 times a week, number one. Trial of the Crusader was also hated because you had to kill the bosses in the literal exact same arena that you killed the previous boss in. There was, like, you're going, it's like 0 to 60, right? Whenever I'm saying, let's go 45. Also, Trial of the Crusader completely invalidated all Old War progression, period, because even the 10-man normal mode dropped 232 gear, and the heroic mode, it was like 245, 232, 258, and then the close that you could get from the 25-man hard mode was 272. Like, 272, that's the same fucking item level. It's above Heroic Lich King, or not Heroic Lich King. Well, actually, Heroic Lich King on 10-man was 271, so it was actually one item level higher than that. But that's what I'm saying, and it's that. So there's a lot of reasons why Trial of the Crusader was bad, but one of the biggest reasons, as I said before, is the fact that you had to do it 4 times. So, like, if you wanted to raid and you wanted to be efficient doing the game, you were only doing this exact same raid in the exact same room 3 times a week, and then that was it. It was like you took something, and also Old War was a very good raid, and a lot of people had not completed Old War at the time that Trial of the Crusader had been released. Even in my guild, we didn't see the Realm First for Yogg 0 until after TOC was out. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Zach, sounds like you loved Hyjal. I actually did love Hyjal because I was a big Warcraft 3 fan. So I was really happy to be able to go and do it myself, but there's a reason why I skipped on tier 6 this time around on Classic, okay? That's it. And let's see here. TOC was only good for GTKP. Yeah, for the trinkets on the 4th and last boss, yeah, definitely. Going for Tribute and Sandy was lots of fun, though, in my opinion. I fucking hated it, because there's always somebody who was dumb. Yeah, I hated that shit. Let's see here. Genshin has better boss fights than WoW. That's how WoW raiding sucks. I think the other reason why people don't want to raid is because the raids are the raids are punishing. They're too punishing. Like on heroic or normal mode, you have like too many mechanics that are, oh, if one person does this wrong, it basically kills the raid, or it almost kills the raid. Like, that's too punishing and too extreme. I think it's just too punishing, too extreme. It's like the same reason why I find it, I don't mind doing Vaulton, but doing Vicus is annoying. Because it's like you're constantly just fucking, it's like you're holding your breath, waiting for something to go wrong. They already said they won't do that anymore? Yeah, because they learned. I think that's a good idea. I'm very glad about that. And from the new Frostbopper, you aren't wrong. A lot of people are messing up whenever they send out. Yeah, and they're like, just go stand on the ice. Oh, so do I stand on the ice? Oh, I got bopped. Well, I guess I should stand on the ice right now at the beginning of my bop. Bro. Oh my god, it was so bad. It was so bad. There are so many people that were, what's ice? Yeah, exactly. I don't have projected textures on. I can't see it. And so anyway, last thing I want to talk about is dragon riding versus flying. Obviously, this is what Blizzard should do, is they should just make it to where you can use dragon riding everywhere in the world. Nobody is going to stop using regular flying mounts. The reason why they're not going to do that is because regular flying mounts provide you complete control in the game. Here, let me ask you a question. Why do we have flight paths anymore? Well, you can just fly over there. Well, why do we have a flight path? Sometimes the flight path takes longer. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because you go on the flight path, you can go jerk off, make yourself some food, go AFK, watch a YouTube video, and come back and be exactly where you want to be. A lot of people don't want to have to be sitting there moving their dragon. They don't want to do this. They just want to go up, and then over there, and then land. That's it. Just whoop, oh, oh, done. You're never gonna have that get old. And also, why is it that this is such a big problem? Why do you make ground mounts then, if they can all fly? It's because there are some cases where ground mounts, people like using them. They might like the look of them, they might like the fantasy of them, etc. Why do you keep making underwater mounts? Because people think they're cool. It's common sense. I don't know what to say. Do they have to say anything about keeping the current ability of the craft here, like Zereth Mortis and new expansion? I don't know. I haven't kept up with everything. I don't think so. It takes me too long to jerk off nowadays to do that. Sure. What I'm really trying to say here is that, you know, it'll take you a lot less time if you're doing dragon riding, because you won't have any. You're gonna be doing that the whole time. And so, yeah, AFK flying in BC, come back and being totally off the map. Yeah, you're like off on the corner and like your character's dead and you have to like go and, you know, you have to like go to the very edge of like a fucking random island in Netherstorm because your body respawned at the very corner of it, and then you have to resurrect there, and then a mob kills you and you have to do it again. Yeah, I had that happen many times. And so, yeah, I watched the interview, and those are my thoughts on the interview. I think that they should homogenize many of the class utilities and class buffs quite a lot more in the same way that they did during Wrath, Cataclysm, and Mists of Pandaria, 3 relatively good expansions in my opinion. I don't know, I think that would be really cool if they did that. I think that's the smarter thing for them to do. Was it rating always like that? Remember my guild kept wiping on Sindragosa because every pull 2 or 3 people were too stupid to do mechanics right? Yeah, Sindragosa was a bad time, but like that's, the thing is people are just bad at WoW. Like I don't understand it. They are. Basically, Ian still doesn't get it. I think Ian gets it. Like, it's just like, I just hope he'll listen to like what I'm saying, what we're saying, what everybody's saying, right? Just people that disagree with me, you should listen to them too, right? It's just make the best decision for the game. And I think that the idea that every class should have every buff is ridiculous, but I think that at least, you know, I think that it's always going to be a bad, it will create points of friction, and it will be more bad than it's good whenever you have a boss that one class makes the boss 20% easier or 10% easier because of some unique advantage that they only bring. I think that's just not a good thing. And also, you know, like heroism and gateway, like throughput things being unique is not as big of a deal, but having utilities like Death Grip and Gateway being unique, that is a much bigger deal because it can just completely change the mechanics. So also again about the dragon riding, just make it to where you can use dragon riding everywhere. I mean, like just do that, problem solved. Nobody ever has to think about it. And so what do you think about red BOEs being drops from trash, which means a lot of WoW tokens for Blizzard? I don't really give a fuck about that. I don't care about BOEs. It doesn't matter to me. You can always have BOEs drop off of the bosses. Like, bosses used to drop BOEs. I think in Trial of the Crusader you had BOE items that would drop, that you could sell. And I think other expansions have had the same thing. It's like maybe 1 or 2 items. So, like, it's not impossible for that to happen. What's a BOE? An item that drops that can be sold. Yeah, it can be sold. That's it. BOEF trash is awful reason for trash. Yeah, it's yeah, like, oh, we need BOEs. No, why? Why do you need this? It's just crazy. Like, add in some other type of, like, system that people can work towards. TBC made World Boss BOEs later on. Yes, you're right. Yeah, I've actually forgot all about that. You're totally right. The thing about WoW raiding is that it's fun. It's a big adventure and not a room simulator. But, like, so if it's so fun, then why are people quitting? Why is the raid participation going down every single time? Well, maybe because it's not as fun as you think it is. It's dying out. And also, like, there are a lot of things that were a big adventure. Like, for example, leveling was a big adventure in Classic WoW, and people's tastes have changed because gaming has changed. Like, it's not a grand adventure anymore because the entire foundation of what an adventure is has changed. Yeah, so, Castle Nathra was higher than Aldir. Yeah, because it was a cool-looking raid with the Dracula. What do you mean? What the fuck did Aldir have? Walmart version of Gahoon? A knockoff version of an old god? Who cares? The boss sucked. 30 hours in WoW, of course Classic will feel stale for you. Well, I mean, I think it felt stale for a lot of people. That's why they speed ran through it. That's just what people do, man. Aldir's best raid ever. Well, Aldir had problems, but anyway, all I'm really trying to get at here is that I want World of Warcraft to move forward. I feel like so much WoW does not move forward. It's just languishing around, floundering, flopping around. There's like nothing happening. It's not being innovated. The last time World of Warcraft was innovated was in Legion. And the last time before then was maybe Mists of Pandaria, but I think we can all agree it was Cataclysm. Like, we've effectively gone through, we're on WoW 3 right now. I hope you guys understand that. Like, I would say WoW 1 was like Classic, BC, and Wrath. WoW 2 was TBC, or sorry, not TBC, fucking Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, and WoD. And WoW 3 is Legion onward. I feel like each of those were like a tremendous step. The game needs to be innovated again. It's just, it's stale. Some of the ideals in the game are outdated, and it just shows more and more every day. This is why WoW Classic was popping on, even Season of Mastery, because you were forced to find guilds. Season of Mastery is completely fucking dead. The reason why WoW Classic is popping off is because all of the content is a joke. It's a joke. If you compare how easy it is to do Sunwell versus how easy it is to do Mythic Sepulchre, these two things are not even remotely close. It's because a lot of people don't want to go through and do this super hard raid that requires 200 or 300 MS reaction time. Where like one person doing something wrong wipes the whole group. It's like, you look at Brutalis, for example. What do you do in Brutalis? You soak the Meteor Slash, you don't stand next to other people with fire, and you hit the boss. Big surprise. It's the most everybody loves doing it. Yeah, everybody loves doing it because it's easy. Yeah, that's all it comes down to. I love the harder difficulties. Yeah, I'm sure if I go and I look at your Warcraft logs, we're not going to have any mythic parses here, are we? But let's be honest. Again, there are always people that talk about how much they like this and how popular it is. And again, anybody here who's talking about this, you're already part of the 5%, the 1%. You are watching a video game stream on a third-party website. That's not what the normal person does. A normal person doesn't do this. Like, they just log on to the game and play the game. So, like, you're automatically, by the nature of the fact that you're watching this in the first place, part of the elite. Yeah. And even inside of that, there's, like, tiers of elite. I'm normal? Yeah, sure. We're elite gamers. We are, yes. I think in many regards. The raids are very accessible. It's the very same reason everyone does Mythic Plus in retail. Yeah, there you go. And so I toss two solutions. I like thought just make the game the way it was whenever a lot of people raided before. Like, I don't know, it's like, man, like we used to serve pizza and everybody showed up, but after we started serving spinach, nobody's showing up anymore. And everyone's like, well, you know, I mean, like, listen, you know, things have to change, the world's gonna be different, and you know, I like the color of spinach, and so we're gonna have that. It's like, I don't know, stupid, why don't you start serving pizza again? How about that? How about serve pizza, we'll see what happens? Huh? Yeah, PoE just had that problem. People got tired of eating spinach. I certainly did. Holy fuck. So that's the way that I feel about it. So, randomizer for enemies and gear? No. I think that could be an interesting, like, idea, but I don't think that should be a foundational, like, tenet of the game. Absolutely not. And anyway, I'm gonna look at a couple of other things, and then I just want to play some games. I'll probably do some Tower Fantasy today, and probably also some, maybe do a little bit of PoE. I'm not really sure yet. I haven't decided. And anyway, let's see here. PoE got a drops fix. Yes, they did. They did. Did you watch the whole interview? Yeah, pretty much. I missed like the first 5 minutes, but that's about it. And yeah, Lost Ark. I'll probably do Lost Ark this week. Let's see where I gotta go here. Let's see here. Watch later. What we got? What am I gonna watch here? Fuck. I was gonna watch one of his videos. I don't know if I want to look at it today or not. I haven't decided. Why have faith in the Ashes of Creation? Yeah, let's watch this one. And I'm gonna try and decide, like, you know what? Before I do that, I want to talk about something else. Okay. So, I believe that I have made my magnum opus of tweets. I've done something that I didn't even know was possible. I am more proud of this tweet than any other tweet that I have previously done. This one has made so many people mad. I purposefully made it ambiguous. And there are people in the comments that are talking about the fact that they think that I had a trans awakening. And there are other people in the comments of the same tweet talking about how I am an incel for saying that women have it easier. And oh my fucking god, if I can tap in to both of the fucking sides of the spectrums of unresolved personal trauma that people are unleashing on the world on Twitter with one tweet, I'm gonna call that a dub. Holy shit, people are fucking crazy. Can you believe this? I'll read some of these comments. And I make this is another one. I saw this. I was watching it. There's a video on fucking like clip on South Park, and it was like Cartman. There's like this midget teacher, and like Cartman was laughing at him, and then the teacher was mad at him, and so Cartman gets in a fight with the midget teacher in recess. Like they get in a fight with each other, and they're like beating the shit out of each other, and they're playing like Down with the Sickness or something like that, right? And I scroll down to the comments, and these fucking psychos are fighting about if Cartman was in the wrong or if it was the teacher who was in the wrong. I'm not even fucking kidding you. They were actually fighting over that. Like, people have gone fucking insane. But read some of these comments here. I mean, look at this. Let me see if I can find a few more of these. Yeah, you spent hours getting ready. Let's see if I can find some more of them. OnlyFans win. It's fun, right? And this is another guy thinking that I'm gonna start dressing up like a girl. Twinking female characters is even better. Free stuff. To be honest, it was Immer's stream. Streamers attract and build the communities differently. What is that? You're pretty good at karaoke, Zach. Don't worry. Yeah, I know. Whenever Izzy, I took all of them out to karaoke, and I refused to do anything. I just sat there and watched the whole time. And you were really feeling it for real. You should do some cosplay stuff in the future. Nice cock, bro. I mean, this is just, oh my god. Some of these people become a waifu. It's your destiny. Transition. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sir, have you tried estrogen? Time for VR chat. I would like to let you guys know that I tweeted this out and I made it intentionally ambiguous in order to cause this kind of a reaction. I was like, how can I tweet this out that nobody is going to know what I mean with this tweet, and everybody is going to take it and do their own fucking headcanon and write their own story about it? I think it's so funny, man. I do. And like in the quote retweets, there's like these girls that are like butthurt about it. They're like mad, trying to hypnotize you. Yeah, it's just, as anyone notice, everyone's nuts nowadays. I think so. See, guys complain about this a lot, and I'm like, you compliment each other. Like, it's just, oh my god. I'll see if there's any more good ones. I'm not sure if there are. Master cross-dressing as a girl is something only men can do. In other words, it's one of the most masculine feats to exist. You know what you have to do. Chop it off. I love it. I really do. I think it's so funny. I love unhinged Twitter. Yes, I too love Twitter. It's just crazy, man. Absolutely fucking crazy. I know what I have to do, but I don't have the strength to do it. It's just, you drop this queen. Oh my god. That's why I compliment Mendo. Now you know how hard it is. And then there's these guys, right? So there's always these guys. Okay? It's like, these are the same kind of guys. It's like, how can you be racist? There's only one race, the human race. Like, that kind of energy, and they fucking go in there, and they make a comment like this. Can you believe it? He never fails. Yes, I know. Getting compliments is hard. And like, look at this guy, right? I mean, this is absolutely exactly what you would expect. Let's be honest. It's like an average middle-aged dude wearing a hat. Come on, Jay. Let's be honest. Why are you wearing the hat? It's the same reason I have a comb over, probably. And you've got a beard, and there's probably a little bit of gray in the beard, and yep, you're gonna fucking say the same shit, Jay. Yeah, exactly. We all know it. Let's see here. Look at this here. I'm sure women streamers receive more compliments and more insults and threats overall. This, now we're getting into the real fucking, the real professionals here. This post is cringe. It wasn't about women though, it was about him. Like, I'll tell you one thing, it certainly wasn't about you. Ain't nobody thinking about you. Look at this. Whenever I give a guy a compliment, all I get is K back. You say you want compliments, but you don't really. Because us men rarely get complimented because we don't know how to respond. I mean, I don't know. Thank you. Like, I appreciate it. I don't. And this is the kind of stuff that these people do, man. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it fucking crazy? Like, it's just a shot. You know what to do. Did you enjoy drag? So people think I'm gonna be a drag queen. Like, yeah, next season of RuPaul, I'm gonna be on RuPaul. Like, oh my god. Dragon D's nuts. True. It's nuts, man. And it's fucking content. Yeah. Go on RuPaul. Yeah, one true queen. To me, I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I never get insecure about anything except for amounts that I don't have in World of Warcraft and being bad at video games. I don't get insecure about the way I look. Everybody knows I'm balding. Everybody knows I'm missing teeth. I can put on makeup, and it doesn't make me feel insecure or less of a man at all. It's just a content, you know, just putting on a show. It's funny. People think it's funny, you just do it. That's it. I never, like, I don't know. Like, I did not even know that this would be a point of contention. Like, guys thinking like, oh, well, you know, you can't do that. Like, why? Why can't you do whatever the hell you want? You're a fucking man. It's nuts, man. Imagine your dad saying that, though. Funny you should bring that up. He was watching the stream, and he called me during the stream. I'll play the video. Before we watch this, I'll play the video. Where is it? Asmon, your dad is calling. Asmon.
Worst thing that happens is my dad sees this.
What would happen if he saw this?
He would probably commend me. He's like, "Wow, you really do anything for content. That's great. You know, you're doing great. Yeah, I'm really proud of you."
Is that yours?
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. Hello?
I am watching, and you've even got me on
Bro, look at Emmy's face. She doesn't know anything about my dad. And so she has no idea what the fuck this guy is gonna say. She has literally no idea. Miz knows. Like, I know. Jessica's like, oh, it's probably gonna be whatever, right? It's not my stream. Emmy's like, oh, fuck.
where it's a pause, you know, so just in case I say anything.
Yeah?
You look really,
I look what?
you look really great.
What about Miz? Who looks better, me or Miz?
I can't see his face. Oh,
That means I probably look better.
I don't know. It's kind of a tie. I mean, it's a tie for who can go lowest, you know?
Not true.
Okay, alright.
So, yeah. My dad doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. Why would he give a fuck? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. He actually said that Miz was being a pussy. He was I talking to him on the phone before I went live today, and he said Miz was being a pussy because he was complaining about getting the eyeliner on his eyes. He said back in Vietnam, they used to have to put oil camouflage all over their whole face and their eyes, and they'd have to sleep in it even because they wouldn't want the Viet Cong to see them. And he's like, and Miz is complaining about eyeliner being put on by a girl. Like, why are you doing that shit? and so anyway, yeah. Why would my dad, like, yeah, he's a fucking, well, he was a fucking carpenter. He was a college professor, executive publishing company. He was in Vietnam, like made safes and shit. No, why would he be embarrassed about me? I'm putting on a show. People are laughing. Everybody's having fun. No, he's proud of me. Thinks it's great. Thinks it's funny. Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, he knows what's going on. What do you mean? Yeah, that's it. And show must go on. There it is. And so, yeah, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. But man, this shit was just a real, this was just real fucking funny, man. Seeing these people just go absolutely hog wild, man. Hog fucking wild with these comments. It's nuts, man. Some people can't stand having a good time. Yeah, it's whatever. He stabbed someone in a bar, sent the shiv to your uncle. Yeah, we don't talk about that one too much. And so, look, I saw this, I saw this and I wanted to bring it up on the stream, right? It was just real fucking funny, man. And yeah, there it is. What's his son's get paid? That's all that matters. Yeah, I know. My dad will always come around, and like anytime, like I don't talk a lot about like being successful. Like it's like it's in like real life. Like why the fuck? Like it doesn't matter. Like people like, do you make money? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay. That's about it, right? And my dad can see somebody he hasn't seen in like 5 years. He'll be like, oh, Pat, it's great to see you. My son, he's making millions of dollars. He's making so much money. Zach, how much money did you make last month? Tell my friend, we used to work together. Tell him right now. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, that's the last thing I want. Like, what is this, right? Flexing is so true. Yeah, well, it's like my dad. He, you know, he used to always let me play video games, let me do whatever the fuck I wanted, right? And so, like, he would, you know, like, other people in the family would be like, man, like, maybe you should have your son do something useful, you know? And so I'm sure there's a little bit of, what's the word for it? Vindication about the whole situation. So that's what I would say, man. I was proud of that. Yeah, my dad's very proud of me. Absolutely. Probably criticized. Yes, and now he's getting back. Exactly. And so, yeah, get fucked. There it is. And so, yeah, the motto is they hate us because they ain't us. Yeah, and that's it. Anyway, let's go back over. I gotta watch this, and we're gonna take a look at it. But yeah, man, I mean, like, this shit was just fucking like, oh my God. Like, I love saying shit like this because it just gets people wound up. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a good time. And what's this here? Just flex on? Chris wants to flex you? Yeah, for sure. Real talk though, you look great as a man too. Oh, well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. And let's go back over here. And so yeah, that's what my dad thought of it. And my mom, like, I would do shit like this all the time. My mom would never give a fuck. Like, she would never give a fuck. Like, anything that I would do, she'd be like, okay. Yeah, that's oh, they like it. I remember one time my dad, me and Rich got a gun pulled on us downtown, and I told my dad, he's like, oh, that's great. Did you get it on camera? They must have loved that. That's the first thing he said. That's the first thing he said, man. Yeah, some guy, so we pull up this guy, he's talking to us in a limo that he was like living in, right? He was like doing drugs in a limo. He's like, you want to come in and do drugs with us? I'm like, no. And he pulled out a gun. I'm like, wow, it's crazy. Like, is that a real one? He's like, take a look. And that's what it was, man. It was nuts. And what's this here? Would your view count go down if you were a girl? I think girls are not as popular on Twitch. The reason why is that people watch Twitch for people that they relate to, right? So that's why, for example, you know, you have YouTube. YouTube has a much larger female audience, and guess what? There's a lot of female content creators that are popular there. Like, obviously, a lot of guys watch girls because they're hot. Yeah, sure, right? But, like, there's a cap to that. And there's also, like, a time frame to that. Usually, for me, it's about 25 minutes. But for some people, it's 4. For some people, it's 4 hours. If it's more than that, you have to talk to a doctor, though. So the fact is, like, a lot of times you don't really have a lot of super popular female creators whenever it's a audience that is primarily men. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's primarily men. Men are going to watch female content creators for pretty much one reason. And obviously there are exceptions. I think there are many exceptions. It's not like a 99 and 1% scenario, but there is a very strong trend in one direction. So once Twitch has a larger female endemic audience, you're going to have more women be more popular. Same as what happened on YouTube. So that's why that's why female streamers aren't necessarily as popular. It's not because they're not funny. It's not because they're not good at video games. It's not because of anything. There's plenty of people that aren't funny and aren't good at video games that are popular. You're looking at one. So why do you need to worry about either one of those? It's about being able to relate to people, and I think that's what people like a lot on Twitch. And a gender barrier is a pretty big one whenever it comes to relating to somebody. So yeah, that's all it comes down to. Let's go back over. We're going to watch this video. Why I have faith in asses of creation. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. Twitch is not focused mainly on games. YouTube was much more focused on games at the beginning too. I think that's true, but there are also a lot of female gaming content creators too that are very popular. I think that Twitch is much more male-centric than YouTube is. B tier clickbait thumbnail? Well, maybe if he watches more of my thumbnails, we'll get up into the A and S tier. Here we go.
Hey, what up, boys? So, I've targeted this video towards as tight of an audience as possible. 99% of you who click this should be the guys who are invested in my videos specifically, and if you're one of the unlucky few who have stumbled across my bald head and are just seeking some Ashes of Creation copium, don't worry, the question at hand will be answered in a brief moment. This video isn't going to be structured in the same way that you're used to. There will be almost next to no editing, and this video will have no script. The majority of this video will be me talking about what you can expect from this channel over the next few months leading into the Alpha 2, and probably what's going to happen during Alpha 2 as well. But before we get into that, it wouldn't be fair to continue this video without grabbing ourselves
he's gonna do it anyway. Yeah.
Cola, because we just hit 30,000 subscribers.
Oh,
a huge milestone.
I saw that.
And I am forever grateful that you guys have come together to build this community. It's helped me tremendously with my mental and physical health, contrary to popular belief, as well as saved me from a very dark place that I was in about 2 years ago. And I think we'll start this video with the question at hand. Why do I have so much faith in Ashes of Creation? Then we'll talk about what kind of content I'll be pushing for going forward, and finally, some frequently asked questions that I've saved up over the last year or so of making videos. I hope you'll take the time to listen to me today, as the opinions of the Ashes of Creation community mean a lot to me. You've basically saved my life by allowing me to live my dream of entertainment. So, thank you. Now,
you can tell this guy loves entertaining people with like the intros in his videos, man. Like there's all kinds of like just funny, goofy, stupid shit that he does, and like a lot of people don't really do that, but this guy goes the extra mile because I think that he likes it.
With all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we?
Yeah. Faith in Activision.
So why do I have so much faith in Ashes of Creation? Well, back before I started this journey in August 2020, I was working a minimum wage, sitting on a checkout, working for a corporate company who treated me like shit. I was pretty much working a bottom-of-the-barrel life. I had lost my career a few years prior and was struggling to keep myself motivated.
So what he's saying is that he was an MMO player. That makes sense. Sure. So was I.
To supplement this, I was autistically playing Black Desert Online on a free-to-play account.
Okay, there it is. There it is. I didn't even have to wait 5 seconds. Yep. Listen, I called it, man. What can I say?
18 hours a day to give myself some form of purpose.
Yeah.
MMOs have meant a lot to me my whole life. I do not recall a single year where I have not been highly engrossed in MMORPG worlds. This fascination started in probably Habbo Hotel, which was an old school chat room type of thing, and I eventually moved over to RuneScape, which then led me to eventually discovering World of Warcraft in early 2005.
Yeah.
Because of this, my nostalgia is all about the Burning Crusade. All the gameplay mechanics and social aspects of that expansion were burned into my soul. To me, and
I would say the same as like Classic WoW. Like I played Classic WoW. I got 60 in Classic WoW. But my real memories were in very late Classic WoW and Burning Crusade.
Yeah, the Burning Crusade was peak World of Warcraft and was the last time the game truly felt like an MMORPG. Now, don't get me wrong, Wrath of the Lich King was also a fantastic expansion. However, the corporate claws of Activision were beginning to show their damage as my favorite type of content, the heroic dungeons, were dumbed down to the point where the current day meta pull everything and AoE it all down was formed and solidified across the whole of the MMORPG genre. This removed a lot of the social aspects of WoW for me because dungeons were no longer about teaching each other how to crowd control, taking the time to form bonds, and attempt—
Did you guys crowd control in BC? Did you guys do that? I never, bro, like, we never did that shit. Like, at the very beginning we did. And then as soon as I joined my new guild, and, like, everybody in the guild, I remember this was the difference between the guild that I was in and the guild that I joined. The guild that I was in, we needed to bring 2 warlocks to curator so they could use Curse of Doom, so Curse of Doom could go off whenever curator was taking vulnerability damage. Or if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have the DPS to kill the boss. That was the guild that I was in. And I joined a guild that I asked them how we could do curator if we didn't have a warlock. And they did not even know what I was talking about. They had no idea. And, like, I tried to explain it, and they were just laughing at me, calling me gamer words. That's it. Yeah, I never CC'd in BC. Like, we would, like, maybe kite out one mob. That was it.
The bosses multiple times before deciding the people in your group were complete retards. This change killed WoW for me, and towards the end of Wrath of the Lich King, it was clear why these changes were made. Because they were getting the game ready for Ghost Crawler's genius plan to make the dungeon experience convenient. The looking for group and looking for raid tools were the final nail in the coffin for me as World of Warcraft began ramping into the furry mess that it is today. Ever since then, I've been searching for another MMORPG to give me that genuine sense of social gameplay again. I enjoyed
I think that Mythic Plus, like, I've made more friends in Mythic Plus than I have in raiding since Legion. I've made a lot of friends in Mythic Plus. I haven't really made any friends with raiding. Like, because it's just, usually it's like 5 dudes in a Discord channel just, like, talking. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. So I actually don't, I feel like dungeons ever since Mythic Plus have improved in, like, a pretty big way. I don't have any nostalgia really for Burning Crusade Heroics. Like, we were always, like, top on the server. So we had, like, the best gear. We never CC'd anything. Like, I could tank that shit in DPS. I remember I'd have to put on a shield for, like, certain mobs and certain things. Other than that, we never fucking did that. And we had also, like, this bear druid. His name was Celebi or whatever. And he would just tank in DPS gear, and he would do almost as much damage as me. It was so fucking good.
I enjoyed WildStar, I enjoyed Elder Scrolls Online, but it was ultimately Guild Wars 2 that ended up being my theme park MMO of choice.
He was a god.
But then I discovered something
Never
else.
talked.
The Sandbox MMORPG style. And it gave me the same kind of free feeling that RuneScape gave me back in my youth.
I got that out of BDO too, man. Like, I thought that BDO was really fun in that regard. I've thought about going back and playing the game again, but I know that, like, a lot of the end game is just very much a grind, and I don't really think that I have the time that I don't think I have the time to invest into it in order to be competitive enough for the game to be fulfilling for me. You know, like, because I would want to play BDO. It's just that situation.
I found this in Black Desert Online, which is why I settled on that game for the majority of my time before I found out about Ashes of Creation.
Yeah.
Now, when Ashes did start making its round, I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much wrote it off as a scam like most people would. Looking back at my initial reaction to that lazy peon video is kind of ironic now, considering where the channel is and the road that my life ended up going down. But after Asmongold got into that interview with Steven, something clicked in my head.
How about that?
I'm highly autistic, in case you didn't realize, and my autism manifests itself in high levels of self-awareness and people reading. When I listen to Steven talk about Ashes of Creation...
Well, you also have to contextualize, like, what that interview was. So, like, I remember this. This was 2 years ago. I was sitting in Dalaran, Legion Dalaran. It was me and McConnell, and then after we did that, we did a transmog competition in AQ40. And I think that's what happened. And Steven was, like, he was in the car driving somewhere. He was, like, driving to or from Las Vegas. And he was just talking to us about the game while he was driving. This wasn't like a corporate put on. This was just him like, yeah, I'm gonna, talk about these guys about the game and, just like talk about MMOs and shit. Like, let's do that, right? And it was just like, it was so raw that I think that's probably why Narc and a lot of other people, like I remember the video was so good. People like that because it was just like, oh yeah, there it is. So autistic superpowers, reading people, aren't they supposed to be incredibly uncommunicative and have difficulty with verbal communication? Autism is like a vowel orb. Sometimes it gives you +2 to memory. Sometimes it deletes your ability to talk to people. It just depends. It is, as they say, a spectrum. It's a very broad spectrum.
Something felt different. It didn't feel like a Caspian level sales pitch. This felt genuine. The tone of his voice, the lick of excitement behind his words, you can't fake that stuff. And I was seduced. Inspired, one might say. Stephen's words completely took me by surprise, and I felt compelled to do everything in my power to help that game succeed. And here we are. 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, 2 years later, and together we have built something special.
That's crazy. I didn't know he watched mine.
That can
That's
truly
crazy.
help this game succeed. For me, Ashes of Creation is the last chance for MMORPGs.
Nah, bro, like, you have not even, like, go watch Overlord. Go watch Overlord, okay? Like, you'll feel much better whenever you finish it, because maybe one day that's what's gonna happen. Yeah, just go watch Overlord or some shit like that. Go watch Sword Art Online.
If Ashes ends up failing because of social systems and social gameplay not working in this age of YouTube guides, bat-chesting over the next big thing and meta mentality sucking the fun out of games, then I will just give up on MMORPGs for the rest of my life.
Get the fuck out of here. No, you won't. Right, bro. Like, no shot. Like, if you are into MMOs, like, I'm telling you, like, everybody that I know that's into MMOs and shit like that, these are people that, like, they were, like, 28 whenever Ultima Online came out. They're, like, 55 or something like that now. They're still like, maybe try out the new game. I'm not into any of that fucking, like, that weebs fucking tower fantasy shit, but, like, maybe like the Riot MMO, something like that. Like, that'd be good. It's like, it's never gonna stop, man.
To me, if Intrepid, a passionate indie developer with zero pay-to-win motivations, cannot make an MMORPG succeed, then this genre is just lost to corporate in the same way that...
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think that the genre is in a lull because there is no novelty that the genre brings that is enriching to people's lives in the same way that the novelty that classic World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV or even games like Ultima Online brought or EverQuest brought at that time. The moment that you have stronger, like, sensory connection to the games, that will completely change. And shared worlds, like what you're seeing right there, will become special and amazing just by the nature of themselves existing in the same way that they did back in 2001. But we're just not there yet. Don't give up hope. Think in the long term.
Modern movies are lost to the likes of Disney's woke trash. I will not be a mindless consumer, subject myself to pay-to-win mechanics that are designed to fundamentally remove gameplay for easy profit. I will not be exploited by gambling and gacha mechanics that have completely watered down the genre that I care so much about. I can assure you, I will not promote or encourage any of these dogshit mechanics in any way, shape, or form.
I hope that, like, this is my advice to him, is, like, try not to draw lines in the sand, because what you view as your line, other people think is different. And if you think that you're not crossing your line, other people will think that you crossed your line, and they will be like, oh, well, you're a piece of shit. You shouldn't do this because my interpretation of your interpretation of what this is different than what your interpretation is, and you're bad. It's always a bad idea to draw lines in the sand. Be your own North Star. You don't have to explain it. You just do it.
I will just ignore it and never look back. I hold my morals above everything. It is all I have left to keep my very broken mind somewhat sane. So let's shift the conversation over to something slightly different.
Okay. Starting a new chapter.
Now, these last 2 years have been extremely difficult for me for multiple reasons. I've had some heartbreaking real-life...
Was that sound effect closing the menu in Dark Souls 1? I felt like it was Majora's Mask. Of course. Of course. I never beat Majora's Mask. That shit was too complicated. I was like 9.
Issues I've had to deal with, extreme financial issues that were crippling me, and the challenge of fabricating interesting watchable content straight out of my arsehole with absolutely zero experience or footage to work off.
Yes.
All 3 of these combined have taken a massive toll on my mental health. However, because of your support, you've kept me through the controversies and droughts, and I really, really appreciate that. You have all enabled me to go from hating my life to working my dream job. And my brain struggles to come to terms with that, to be honest.
It's crazy to
Having
think about.
people I revere, like Asmongold and Peon, even give me the time of day, just feels surreal. And I don't know if it's just because
There's no reason to feel like it's surreal at all. I'm just another guy sitting in his room. The only thing different is that my pizza boxes are off the camera. Like, I'm not anything special or anything. I just make videos too, just like you do. Like, that's what we all do. Like, it's not a big deal. We're just dudes that play video games. That's about it. Yeah, it's chill.
Depressed beyond repair, but I can't help but feel guilty from the unnatural amount of attention. The struggle is the thing that's kept me motivated, and having no money has put me into a kind of fight or flight kind of mentality. Now that chapter is finally coming to an end, I'm not sure what to do. But then, why don't I just make a Patreon or stream so you guys can support me and then it's not a problem, right? Well, yes. And that's about to change. Today, I have opened up a Patreon so you guys can support me financially, but allow me to explain why I waited until now to do this.
Okay.
I've had a fairly fortunate childhood. However, I felt very unsatisfied. That wasn't the life that I wanted to lead. I wanted to forge my own path and rely only on myself. This led to the next 10 years of living in poverty, working minimum wage jobs, and although that was tough, it was very satisfying. I got a lot of pleasure out of progressing through life. When I was building up my 7-year career as a baker, I felt like I had a purpose. I had a goal, and the skies was my limit. All my achievements, everything I earned, was my own. And it turned me into the man that I am today. But I lost my bakery career for reasons that were out of my control, and it crushed me, almost destroyed me. And up until the moment I was listening to Steven talk about Ashes of Creation, I had all but given up.
Bro, that's actually crazy. What
pretty much saved my life. He inspired me to start this channel, and I brought my independent mentality over to YouTube. I wasn't going to accept people's help until I was confident I could stand on my own 2 feet comfortably.
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable needing to rely on others for financial stability. Earlier this month, I reached that goal, and for the first time in 2 years, I have been able to comfortably cover my bills, rent, and groceries, and I will forever be thankful to you guys. You have—
Bro, I remember whenever I made $1,000, I fucking screenshotted it on my phone, on my bank account. I'm like, guys, I made $1,000. Can you fucking believe that? I made $1,000 and then I spent the whole thing on a new computer to make videos. That's what it is. Yeah, good on him. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, I would say also it's important to, you know, I think that for me, it's like, it's always good to get like to get, like, I don't know, like really what the word is for it, like rejuvenation, renewal, something like that from other people. But like in the same way, like I do what I do. It doesn't take, like, nobody needs to agree with me. I will keep doing it. That's all there is to it. And like, you have to you have to be so resolute. And this is the thing with like videos especially, is that there will be times where people will disagree with you, things will let you down, people will think that you're wrong, things will not go the way you want them to. And the difference there is like other people sometimes, it's like, let's say Ashes doesn't do well, right? Well, guess what? You're still here. Everybody's still, we're all still here. You got to keep going. You can't just quit. There's no other way to exist other than to move forward. Even if you don't want to. It happens on its own.
Given me an opportunity to build a stable income from this job.
Yeah.
The tiers of Patreon will be offering you additional content. I still do not feel comfortable taking your money without providing something in return, so feel free to have a browse, but just watching the videos is more than
I'm
enough.
going to give you some actual real advice. You make more money streaming. Because people like they can like donate questions and shit like that, or like super chats on YouTube, and like you just answer those questions, and like that way you get like the direct validation. Like for example, like I would make like $1,500 a month on YouTube, and I started streaming. I was making like fucking $8,000 to $10,000 a month fucking with donations. Now obviously like my stream popped off, I did really well. So it's like it's probably not going to happen exactly to that level. However, I think that's really what happened with me, and I think that's the better option than Patreon, because also like you get to provide all that content for people in real time. But I think you could do Patreon too. Especially I think that Patreon is much more appealing for YouTube content creators because they can just make other videos. Streaming more mentally draining. I think that like it's a grass is always greener on the other side, right? Well, whenever I was making YouTube videos, I was like, man, dude, I wish I could be a streamer and I could just go and turn on my stream and just play video games, and like that's all I have to do. I don't think about having to edit things at all. And then whenever I'm doing streaming, I'm like, man, dude, I have to be here for like 7 hours, 8 hours. Like, man, I remember back whenever I could just do YouTube videos, I record it, then I'm done. And it's like, there's always going to be something better about the thing that you're not doing. That's just, you just have to acknowledge that. It is what it is.
Support, guys. Entertaining you is the only thing that motivates me. If any of you guys don't want to use Patreon, I will also be enabling memberships for YouTube as well, but whatever. But what about streaming? Well, here's the thing. It's not a meme that I spend 18 hours a day, 7 days a week editing. I actually do. In fact, 2 or 3 days of the week I don't actually sleep because I spend way too much time making these videos somewhat watchable. I want to make mediocre quality videos, and to deliver that I need to put the work in. Every hour that I stream is an hour that I'm not editing, and I don't view pressing go live and then existing in front of a camera as quality content. Yet, I have nothing to stream. Ashes of Creation doesn't even exist. However, I can assure you I will be streaming during Alpha 2. Full-time, likely 9 hours a day minimum.
I will completely, I will say that I completely understand what he's saying. There was a certain amount of fulfillment whenever I finished editing my video. That was a 17-minute long montage of me running people over in the Call of Duty truck in Warzone. I felt so fulfilled and so validated as a human on the deepest level. So yes, I can completely understand. There is a certain amount of like just creative fulfillment that you can get with making a YouTube video that streaming doesn't really provide unless you're doing something crazy like whenever, you know, me and S-Fan and Rich did the Classic WoW dueling tournament, for example.
As well as putting out the regular mediocre quality video, which leads us nicely onto merch. I've had 100 requests for this beauty, and you see, I could make this into merch alongside of a, I don't know, a Copa tea or even a Copa coffee mug. It's very good ideas from the community, but then it wouldn't be special, would it? It would just be generic garbage with next to no value. I think merch is special. It should be something that is utilized during a special occasion. So for now, I'm just going to put a pin in this subject because I have ambitious plans for merch in the future. Finally, I wanted to talk about...
There are a lot of things that I want to do for merch, but like for me, it's a matter of like effort and focus, right? So it's like whenever I'm gonna go and like make a new t-shirt or something like that, why would I really do that if I can just make more content? And that's usually the way that I feel. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I pretty much wear the same shirt every day. And I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about it. Basically, so OTK does merch drops pretty regularly. Most of the clothes that I wear are OTK clothes. And the reason for that is that about every 4 months, we get a new pair of sweatpants. You know, we get a handful of new t-shirts. And it's like, great. Well, that's my laundry for the next 4 months. That's what we're going to do. And so, yeah, that real shit. Yeah, you couldn't figure it out. Yeah, I just, that's what it is. I don't worry about that too much. I think, like, don't really do something that you're not passionate about or you don't really give a shit about. Or it's going to take you away from what you really like doing. You know, it's like there's a reason why people like what you're doing. Don't change that too much because then they might not like it. It's about taking gradual steps, right? The same as I did. Gradual steps.
Why I don't use a referral code. Well, it's simple, really. I just don't agree with it. I think it makes the whole project look like a cheap scam, and it completely invalidates your coverage and opinions. I value my opinions being legit above everything else, and I will never ever accept money from Intrepid to promote their game. I promote it because I believe in it. I don't need to be compensated for promoting something.
You'll always have people... You can never pass a purity test that a person wants you to fail. You can never do it. Because people can say you're being positive because your channel depends on it. People can say you're not being paid, but you need the ad revenue. If you're being negative, they say you're being negative for views. If you're being positive, they say that you're just astroturfing for views because your career... Like, you can never pass a purity test that a person doesn't want you to. Never try. Because by trying, you automatically lose. You lose right off the bat. Before you even start the race, you lose. Pick whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to do, and just do that.
Thing that I believe is genuinely trying to push this genre I care so much about.
Am I really giving this advice to him, or am I giving it to myself from 5 years ago? I don't know. That's why these are all things that I've done in the past, and that's why I'm saying it.
In a less corporate place. To conclude today's slightly more personal video, I wanted to talk about the content on this channel going forward.
Okay.
A very frequently asked question is, why don't I branch out to cover other games? Well, here's the thing. I do. I cover Guild Wars 2 very often. I've touched on WoW because that's a game that means a lot to me. I've done an in-depth analysis of Arcade and touched on various other games in a series called Opium or Copium. The problem is, I just don't give a shit about these corporate MMOs. They're all failures in my eyes. I'm just not passionate about them.
I can understand that. Like, I think that almost every game has a few good ideas. And the reason why I play a lot of other games is because I look at it as like a Batman utility belt. The more that I know, the better I can understand what I see. That's why I want to know as much stuff as possible. Like, oftentimes whenever I'm offline, I don't just like watch bullshit. Sometimes I do. But many times I go and I watch like documentaries and shit like this, because the more I know, the more tools I have, the more things I can use to understand the world. And the more things that you understand about people, the better you can understand people.
World was a perfect example of this, because I covered it extensively, pointing out its garbage flaws and seeing how people have such blind faith in this obvious low-effort corporate cash grab after 25 years of failure it's just exhausting to me.
Yeah.
The reason Ashes of Creation has my attention is because of its lack of corporate ties. That's the main reason about this project that appeals to me.
Lost Ark is a privately traded company. It's not a private. It's a privately held company. Like I don't know if you know that or not. Like I'm sorry, but like greed doesn't have to have a C next to it. It doesn't have to be a C corp. It can be an S corp, or it can be something else. Come on, yeah, anybody can be greedy.
Everything else is just a bonus, and I will continue to do my best to spread awareness for this project so it can reach as wide of an audience and as diverse of an audience as possible. I think for this project to fulfill the ambitious goals of Steven, the community needs to come together and help Intrepid achieve this, or we're destined for this genre to die. I believe if Ashes of Creation does come to light one day, it will spark another age of MMORPGs like WoW did in 2004, reigniting that escapism that MMORPGs excel at. Currently logging in to do dailies, not socializing, speed running through the content to win, that isn't the escapism that made WoW go viral. That's just another generic game. As I said, Ashes of Creation is the last straw for me, and I will do everything.
I think WoW was also super viral because it was a social network. It's just that now Twitter is a better social network than World of Warcraft was. It's just that simple. I think Final Fantasy is as much of a social networking website as it is a video game. A lot of people have like a lot of friends and they do things in the game that are like, whenever you like, this is what's so weird, right? And like Gavin said this, and I totally fucking agree. These people that are talking about a metaverse, what the fuck do you mean a metaverse? We've had metaverses. It's called Azeroth, Eorzea, and fucking whatever you want, like Ultima Online, New World, EverQuest. We've had this. That's what it was effectively like. If you had no combat at all in Final Fantasy, and it was not a game in the sense that it is as it is now, a lot of people would continue to play it because it is something more than that to them.
My power to help it
so
succeed.
Weird.
And
they say
if that means I'm destined to be stuck in this niche, covering a game that doesn't even exist for the rest of my life, then so be it. I'm still so far away from where I want to be in terms of delivery and quality. There's so many ways that I can improve my videos, and I'm slowly experimenting with new techniques and seeing what feels good and fits the format that you guys have grown to love so much. You can very much expect my videos to continue improving leading into Alpha 2 because they're very far away from where I want them to be. Does this mean other games are completely off the table? No, of course not. I will continue making the videos that I want to make, and I feel like if you get stuck doing something that you don't enjoy, then what's even the point?
Yeah, exactly.
A major part of my growth has been making sure I am...
That's what I always say before, is like, I always give my opinion on stuff, even if people get mad. Because, like, what's all this been for if I can't say how I feel about stuff? What's the whole point? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, what's the point?
Doing what I want to do, and to not be chasing the next big hype wave or getting stuck making some shitty content because it brings in the money or whatever. That would put me straight back into the position I was in before I even started YouTube, working a job that I hate. But as usual, I am just one nerd, desperate for a good MMO. And today's video has been a little different. I appreciate everyone who's watched until the end, and I cannot express how much you have changed my life. I will continue to push myself, and hey, our Discord community is extremely active, full of complete retards, just like yourself. We have multiple discussions about the same tired topics every day, and I'd love for you to come and join and give us your shit takes so that I can get triggered and then ban you.
But Nark, I love your bulgy wolgy, pounces onto your chest and nuzzles your neck. Oh my, someone's happy. I press my paws into your chest and rub my butt on your bulgy wolgy.
That's a pretty fucking roundabout way to say he's gonna try Final Fantasy 14. Jesus, man, just say you're gonna play the game. But I mean, yeah, like we don't have to do this whole fucking song and dance.
I can tell you're excited to see me. Oh, I'm excited too. I hope you won't be too rough with me. I'm only joking. I want you to be as rough as you want.
And to that I say, you need to calm down with the bedroom talk. We shouldn't be role-playing out in public like this because we have a large audience watching and I've already come.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. I like that. That's funny. Let me link you guys a video real quick. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, where's he going with that? What's he saying with that? Oh my god, there's a video. We watched a lot of Narc's videos before. I know you guys like him. A lot of people do. And he already has gone up 1,000 subs since the other day whenever I watched another video. I think that he's a funny, genuine guy, and you know, he's got a bright future ahead of him. I look forward to watching more of the videos and seeing it happen. I'll definitely say that for sure. So, yeah, I mean, especially for Ashes of Creation, he's like one of the only guys that makes a lot of content about it. I think, actually, speaking of that, Ashes of Creation is doing a live stream tomorrow, even. So, yeah, that's the way I feel about it, man. And I've watched a new Riot video. I did. It was brought out yesterday on my YouTube channel. And I missed a video. Well, I'm sorry, man. And let's see here. I like him, but he needs less hair to be taken serious. I mean, I don't know how he could do that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's farther along in that journey than I am. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I think it's important to just like make sure that you're a self-starter and you do what you want to do, regardless of what anybody else tells you or thinks or anything like that. So yeah, that's the way that I feel about it. Also, I had a comment whenever I was watching this. I wanted to address it real quick. Let's go back over here. So somebody commented, they said, I saw you like the tweet about forgiving student loans and how it hurts U.S. Army recruitment. Disappointed to see that you agree with your government should exploit those who are poor. So, and this is another person who is mad about me having Greek on their stream. First off, get out. Second off, I will never criticize somebody for trying to basically steal money from the government. The premise that you have, or fucking like, I mean, obviously we can't have this happen. We cannot have people like, you know, not paying their taxes, for example. Like you have to have this or society will not function. However, I am not morally about this. This is not a big deal. So my mom had over $100,000 in credit card debt. And she was always really worried about paying it off. And I told her, this will never be a problem. Don't worry about it. Fuck them. And you know what? It never was. Fuck them. Do you really think that I agreed with it? How is it that you could ever possibly imagine that I would agree that not stealing something is the right option? I mean, has this person ever watched one of my streams? Like, I mean, they've never watched any stream that I've done. People blame the government really paying you. Yeah, whatever. Stealing's basically getting free shit. I mean, stealing from the government's badass. I mean, the thing is, like, listen, the student loan shit, I like the tweet because I wanted to... Like, this is something for all the dumbasses in chat. And the reason why I banned this person is that they were presumptuous and rude. And I don't know why they did that. And I don't need that kind of energy in my life. I just don't. I usually like tweets as a matter of like categorizing them or something like that. I guess that's one way to say it. It's categorizing them. And I do find it funny, right? That like this was what yeah, Squid Games, exactly. I found it funny. It's like it's so dystopian, it's funny to me. That's it. Yeah, I bookmark these things so I can talk about them on my stream. That's the main. Went after you for liking a tweet. That's weird fucking behavior. Yeah, I don't need that in my life. Why would I need that in my life? I don't. Let's see here. This is stolen valor. There's nobody in the military who would call themselves a recruit. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm sure some people do. I mean, there are a lot of people who go to the military and they go into the military because they want to be able to go to college. It's extremely common. But playing the Squid Games is not the solution. You know what I mean? Like, my dad did. Yeah, my dad did that. And so, yeah, it's just crazy, man. See how the military chat's a scam? I think that, like, I have a tremendous amount of respect for and support. Kind of put those words together for people in the military. Because, I mean, like, you can disagree with what happens at the Pentagon, right? But, like, whenever you're an E4, you're not calling the shots, okay? So you just get to sit there and do what you need to do. You're just doing what you think you need to do, and that's it. Soldiers don't make decisions. I support soldiers all the time, absolutely. And even with the Afghanistan bullshit, like, I mean, fuck that. Most of them didn't probably want to be there either. I mean, damn. And so that's the way I see it. As some military, we tell other servicemen to get as much money from the government as possible. Well, duh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, don't underestimate E4 Mafia. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't been in the military, man. And the military definitely provides a lot of assistance when it comes to scholarships and things. There's a tweet saying student loan forgiveness is bad because it takes away the main recruiting tool of the military. Yeah, I know, that's what we were talking about. Like, that shit was funny whenever I saw that. Like, it's funny because, like, that in my mind is like a mask off moment. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, you know, they always talk around it, but, like, every once in a while somebody just fucking says it. Like, they're like, wait, well, oh, whoa, you're not supposed to say that. It's a mask off moment. There you go. I'm from Iraq. We didn't want you to. Bro, I'm totally there with you. That's my bad. Like, I voted against that shit. I voted against that shit every time. I didn't want to be there either. Like, we don't want to fuck with y'all? Absolutely not. Just finished 6 years reserve in Marines, E3 for 4.5 years. Terminal Lances, where you at? Oh, fuck, I don't know. My dad told me a million different things about the military, man. That's a lot of the U.S. didn't want to be in Iraq. Nah, it's like it was a different time back then, man. Like, it's like if you didn't support the war, it's like you were not, like, patriotic. It was really bad. Like, if you question anything about, like, September 11th or, like, the U.S.'s response to it, like, you were just, like, a fucking, it was worse, comparatively, than if you said, like, the vaccine for COVID was bad. Like, it was at least as bad, if not worse. And the reason why it was worse was because back then, there was so much more of, like, a monolithic media structure. Whereas, like, now you can go off, like, Alex Jones gets banned off something, he just goes on his own website. But, like, back then, you didn't have those tools as much. So it was totally fucking different, man. Bill Maher got his show canceled? Yeah, I remember Alex Jones got fucked over for that same thing. Exactly. Watch the new Actman video. I'm going to watch it tomorrow, I think. I'm not going to watch it today. Yeah, so stupid. Purposely avoid introspection in the name of patriotism. Avoid introspection. Bro, like, did you know the Patriot Act was written before 9/11? A lot of it was written before then. It's like they had that, like, at the ready. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? You know what they say? Don't let a tragedy go to waste. God fucking damn, man. I wish more people would realize that shit, but instead they're thinking about fucking who's wrong or right. Cartman or the midget in South Park. Man, but, like, the midget guy, I mean, like, he was an asshole too, but, like, Cartman's just a kid. You know, that's what they're thinking about, man. I don't know. Soldier, you don't have a symbiotic relationship with your service. Is adversarial. Make sure that you're the one who wins in the end. Take everything you get before you get out. I mean, I think just do whatever you're comfortable with. Like, I can't give anybody advice. I've never been in the military. Try to keep yourself safe. New Riot MMO video. I watched it. Yeah, I watched it. Don't worry about it. I took care of that. You're gonna watch new Channel 5? Maybe I will at some point. And that's it. Did you see new Lost Ark, a con raid trailer? I'll watch it real quick. I saw that fucking there's a clip, a con trailer. People want me to watch this a lot. Okay, let's see it. I mean, this is like 5 days ago. Let's just look at it. This English translation, so I'm gonna just watch this one here. This raid's really insane. Yeah, I saw part of it. Season 2, Lost Ark, Big Dick.
아무래도 산자의 세상에 너희 자리는 없는 것 같구나, 일리약한. 니놈들이 아군 단장 일리아칸의 힘은 다시 봉인되었고 아르데타인을 위협하던 어둠은 잠시 사라졌습니다.
We got rid of him.
하지만 세상에는 다시 악마들이 나타나기 시작했습니다. 그들에게는 지금 당신과 같은 해결사가 필요합니다.
우리는 카인의 죽음 이후 계속해서 에어가이츠 계획을 조사하고 있었다. 그 계획의 전신이 된 이론, 그것은 힘의 잔여. 아이히만 박사에게 그 이론을 만들게 한 건 일리아칸의 눈, 루비아이었지.
Oh, shit.
질병의 기운은 우리의 눈을 피해 점점 더 퍼지고 있다. 모두가 조사를 무의미하다 말했지만 이젠 다르군.
That looks badass. Holy shit. That looks really cool.
나의 영혼은 이 역겨운 땅에 붙잡혀 있었다. 하지만 이제 시간이 되었다.
That's cool. Oh, fuck. I can't outgear this one. Fuck, man.
무릎을 꿇어라. 너희의 비천한 생명은 내 앞에 모조리 썩어 문드러질 것이니.
Like, the scenery is fucking badass. Oh my god. This is like a bigger dick version of Diablo 3, Act 3.
질병의 권능 아래서 모든 것은 죽고 다시 태어나리라. 울부짖어라. 내가 바로 죽음의 왕 일리아칸이다.
That's badass, man. Holy shit, that is really cool. Yeah, I like that. It looked great. I mean, honestly, it looked amazing. I can't wait to see how many voice lines they get wrong in the English translation whenever it actually comes to the US. I'll have to say, like, I mean, yeah, some of this shit is just, like, so fucking badass. Like, I really like the scenery and a lot of this stuff. It was really, really cool. Like, the trailer, like, especially this, man. Holy fuck, this was fucking cool, man. Oh my god. I wonder what's going to happen, though. So, like, you've got a Khan, and then you've got Thamine, and then, like, you have Carmine and maybe Kazaros or something. Like, what happens after that? Like, I kind of wonder. Because, like, I mean, you're going through a lot of the Legion commanders pretty quick, right? Armin? I don't think we're going to... I don't think you fight Armin. I find it to be unlikely. Maybe there's like a part of the story I haven't read yet. But like, I mean, maybe you could do Armin, but like, I feel like Armin would be in... It would like Armin would be like gate 2, and then and then Carmine would be gate 3 or something like that, right? Like that's what would make sense to me. Yeah, like I think that's what would happen. Like I don't know, but Regulus and Zosma. Oh, so you think we fight some of the other guys? I don't know. I mean, like it's like so much of like Lost Ark is built up around the like struggle between good and evil with like the demons and like the people. I don't really know if they're gonna do anything more than that. Regulus will be the last boss, maybe. I mean, the Chain Wars, yeah. Check out Gate 3, it's insane. I've looked at a little bit of that. We'll see what happens. Legion Raids is 10% of the story. I mean, maybe it is, but like if you play the game, it's 95. I mean, like, at least where we're at right now in the US version, like, it's basically, like, that's the main challenge. NA is so behind. Yeah, maybe that's the case. Algacia spoilers. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to play that. Like, my character, by the way, is, like, 100% ready for Kakul Seidon, the clown boy. Like, I am fucking 15, 20 item level or something like that. My gear is lit. I've got 5 engravings. I have multiple level 10 gems. I have consumables ready. Like, I am just ready to big dick it. That's all there is to it, man. And watch the Kakul teaser. Yeah, I've seen the whole, your whole raid ahead night level. Yeah. It won't matter. I'll still die. So that's it. You check your character's full stats as a stat against gods and demigods and outer gods like Cthulhu. Maybe. I don't know. It's like, I just hope that they start, like, maybe they've already done this in the Korean version. They start, like, building up other threats. And maybe that happened in Algacia. I'm kind of assuming it did. You gonna watch Ackman's new video by any chance? I'll watch it tomorrow. I wasn't planning on watching it today. But I do plan on watching it. Korean version, players are fighting against angels. Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. You don't like streaming Lost Ark anymore or waiting on new stuff? I'll get on the game right now. I'll show y'all where I'm at. I haven't logged on for a long time. Yeah, let me... yeah, I haven't logged on in a long time. Let's see. Last time I was on, August 16th. That was, like, yeah, over a week ago. Thamine's in December. Like, I just, like... Thamine seems like... I mean, how the fuck are you gonna beat him, right? I mean, like, that guy is just fucking, like, no joke. Lost Ark's boring as fuck? No, I don't think it's boring. Like, it's not boring. It's just, it's what it is. Check out Gate 3. I'm not going to look at it right now. What do you have left to do? Your 15, 20? I'll show you all my progression in Lost Ark, okay? Because I know some people are asking. I might do some PoE or Tower Fantasy after this. Is the fucking PoE patch out yet? Because I saw Chris made that post about, like, the fucking modifiers. Like, is it out yet? It is. I'll go play PoE after this one. Give me like 45 minutes and then I'll be able to play Lost Ark because that's how long it takes for it to go. And not the rares patch. Oh, not the rares patch. Koreans have this theory that Kadan and Thamine are half of each other. Yeah, I don't know enough about the story to be sure about that. Lost Ark's not boring. It's just Korean MMO with fans. You know what? I actually think that one of the reason for, like, Lost Ark, like, people being, like, negative about it, is the voice acting's bad. It's bad. No, it's actually like a legitimate problem with the game, and it makes it worse. Like, and I'll give a hot take. I think that the voice acting in A Realm Reborn is better than the new voice actors. Like the Admiral in Elisa Lamasa, fucking Alphanod, like a bunch of people. I think that it was much better beforehand.